Hey, what's up you guys? This is Rob from Gay Guy Plays, and today on The Snapshot, it's all about how many men we can catch with our balls when we take a look at both of my extended duration Bastille builds. Now, I've had a long history with Vauban, all the way back to the original Star Chart with Damage 1.0, doing extended infested defense missions on Xeni when the Acrid was one of the most powerful weapons in game, and Bastille didn't have a limit to how many enemies it could trap. Now, clearly, many things have changed, including his mechanics, and what I've learned is there isn't a single build that works for every faction. So I figured I'd show you my extended duration build for ranged factions, and my extended duration repelling Bastille build tailored for the infested, or if you're paired with a radial disarm Loki. So before we begin, let's take a quick look at Bastille's mechanics. When deployed, Bastille creates a 10-meter light net that helplessly suspends enemies caught within it. Note that at max rank, a single net can only suspend a maximum of 12 enemies at a time. However, multiple instances of Bastille can be cast. As with most abilities, this is affected by power range and power duration. Power strength plays an interesting role as it dictates how many enemies can be suspended in the net at any point in time. Increasing power strength will increase the limit, while decreasing it will decrease the limit. Also keep in mind that Bastille is not able to contain Grineer rollers, any form of Osprey including Mutilist, and as of update 18.5 it will only slow boss type enemies. Supposedly. I went and tested this on a few bosses, and if it does slow them, it's not by much. Now, as for the snapshot, as you can see, both of the following builds will use 2 Forma on Vauban Prime, and 3 if you're using the standard Vauban. For the Prime variant, you'll only have to toss in a dash in a D slot, but if you're using the standard, you'll need to add in 2 D polarities, because only having 1 D around is never enough. Now, the first build we'll take a look at uses Repelling Bastille, which you can pick up for 25,000 standing once you've reached rank 5 with either Cephalon Suda or the Parent sequence. As for the build, aside from the standard survivability and efficiency mods, we use a combination of range and duration mods to create a 13.9 meter light net that specializes more in ragdolling enemies away rather than trapping them, as this build with its negative power strength will only suspend a maximum of 4 enemies before Repelling Bastille gives them the boot. This setup is perfect for the infested or when working in tandem with a radial disarm Loki, as the large range creates a big safe zone which enemies will be unable to invade. As a side note, I'm also a big fan of using the concussed mines when using this build, as it's very good at applying the radiation status to a lot of enemies at once. Now, while this is my build of choice for the infested, I don't find it as effective when up against ranged factions, as they'll just tend to jump behind cover and shoot you from a distance. So for the Grineer and Corpus, I like to use something a little different. Now, this is very similar to the previous build. However, instead of overextended, we use stretch to compensate for narrow-minded, and replace Repelling Bastille with Intensify. While this does reduce the range of Bastille down to 9.4 meters, you'll be able to contain up to 15 enemies in each. I prefer this setup for ranged combat, as instead of bouncing them away and giving them more range to launch rockets and snipe you, you can just lock them down and put them on hold until you want to deal with them. With a bit of practice, it's actually fairly easy to launch grenades at long distances behind cover, suspending enemies that would normally be crouched behind terrain and making it easier for you to land headshots. Now, a couple quick tips. Regardless of which build you're using, ball placement is key. While using Repelling Bastille, you can literally carve out a path of safe zones in order to revive a fallen ally or get to a point of interest. With the ranged faction build, it's all about learning to gauge the arc of your balls. If you need a little extra range, aim a bit higher than you did previously, as it will extend the flight pattern of the throw and give you a bit more distance. So, regardless of whether you use your balls to repel your enemies or use them to lock your enemies in a state of suspense, Vauban proves that with a little finesse, his balls can do almost anything. So thank you all for watching another episode of The Snapshot. If you haven't already caught it, be sure to check out my Vauban Prime Access video, as well as my previous snapshot on Chroma's Everlasting Ward. Now, don't forget to do all the things that I ask you to do at the end of every one of these, and as always, be sure to stay tuned for more tips on how to use your balls effectively here at A Gay Guy Plays. Look, he's either smuggling a Toblerone or an erection. Either way, it's a damn good addition to the Prime. I mean, I've tasted both, and I'm more than happy with it.